Shalom Sabbat, dear brethren, brothers, sisters, ladies, gents and Pikachus, welcome back to another Let's Analyse and Dissect the Quran of the Muslims, and let's see if there's any truth to Allah's message, anything that happens in here in relation to what actually happened in real life, and let's disseminate and learn about Allah's character and personality, and what is his message, what does he intend for you, for me, for the Israelites, for everybody on the planet and the earth itself. So, if you remember the last time we went through 24 sentences, which was about 35 verses in the Quran, and broke them down, reconnected them as simple, factual sentences, and we went through those one after the other to figure out what was going on. Where we got up to was, O children of Israel. So far we've gone through the creation, as it's said in the Quran, Allah happening upon Adam in the Garden of Eden, and then tricking Adam into reneging against God, falling down along with Allah and his angels to the earth, and then starting the worship of Allah under threat of death. And the latest bit we get up to is the bit that says, O children of Israel, remember your covenant, remember the deal you made. But then it's very androgynous. It doesn't say who this deal is with. You're supposed to assume that the covenant, the deal that the Jews or the Israelites made, is with Allah. So anyway, let's continue where we left off. It's a juicy one, this. You'll really enjoy this. So, 26. Remember your deal with God, and know that a day is coming where nobody will help anyone else, nor shall allowances be made for children or women. Nobody shall escape this fate even by paying bribes, or by selling their body, or by trade, or by any other means. Her fate is sealed. Now, suspicious and interesting how it specifies her fate will be sealed, as if no men are being punished by this, and this horrible fate that is going to be visited upon the Israelis is only going to affect women and children, because obviously in the Bible in the old days, her included the mother and the children. So we know from this that the Quran fate for the Israelites, which is part of this deal, the covenant, who is an unspecified God who's made this deal, we're supposed to assume that it's Allah, whoever is going to get the fate of this broken deal is going to be children and women only. Now, Jizyah is a tax on the Jews, which the Egyptians and other Islamic cultures, and to this day they still have. Jizyah means Jew tax. And what that means is, if you're a Jew and you live in an Islamic culture, you have to pay a specific tax that the Islamic people do not have to pay. And the reason you pay this Jizyah, this tax, you're paying it as a tribute to the Islamic authorities in order that you can continue to live safely and peacefully in that area. So it's almost like a gangster tax. It's like, you better pay us this tax or you'll wake up with a horse's head next to you and your children will be dead and will take all your stuff. That is what they mean by paying protection. Trading the body, you won't be able to trade your way out of it through selling your daughters and wives into prostitution as sex slaves to the Islamics. That's another thing that's interesting, and that's why it says her fate will be sealed. She will not be able to avoid her fate, because what's going to happen when the Islamic people visit this fate upon the Jews, the Israelis, is the men are going to be killed, so they won't be there to enjoy their fate, but the women and children won't be. They'll be taken into slavery and used as slaves by the Islamic people, and this is what Allah has ordained. 27. Remember, we saved you from Egypt, who enslaved you and killed your sons. All this was put upon you by the God you made the deal with. Now, this is interesting because you're supposed to still think that Allah is the deal maker. This deal that the Israelites made is with God, who so far in the Quran is described only as Allah. And remember, at the beginning he says, there's no other gods but me, you have to worship me, I'm the only one, I'm the most graceful and merciful, and if you don't, off with your head. If you don't believe, off with your head. And if anyone brings you questions like, are you sure this is accurate, or do you have any evidence that this is accurate, off with their head. So nobody's going to do that, they're just going to believe in the deal with the God who must of course be Allah, according to the Quran. But as we know, it is not Allah. The God of the covenant is the God of Moses, the God of the Israelites, Yahweh. And what the covenant with the Jews or the Israelites was that as long as they were faithful and they followed his commandments, i.e. the 10 commandments, and they didn't go around murdering and killing people and getting revenge on people and doing all the things that the Egyptians were doing to them, if they didn't take revenge, God would see them good, lead them out of captivity, and set them up in their own place across the sea in the desert where they would have a home. And Moses would be the one to lead them there. So what this is actually saying, dear ladies, gents and Pikachus, is not actually what it sounds like. This is not Allah saying, you better keep to our deal or you'll be punished. No, because the deal was never with Allah. This is Allah saying, O children of Israel, the God you made your deal with has stitched you up and is a liar. He has screwed you over. He has not protected you. In fact, he has caused Egypt to kill your sons and enslave you and rape your women. And now he wants to put an end to you. So Moses is going to have to come and save you. Remember that. It's going to be important. 28. Also remember, we split the Dead Sea and saved you all. We were the ones that drowned those Egyptians too. So the Quran is re-impulsing, repeating the bit that it's just told you to make sure you know it's Allah that has saved you from the Egyptians. Allah is the one that parted the Red Sea, or the Dead Sea, I can't remember which one it was. Allah is the one that made the Egyptians stop. Allah is the one that did all the protecting and all the safeguarding and all the helping. Which means the other God who made the covenant with you, who actually isn't supposed to exist if this is to be believed, and you're not allowed to believe, or he is causing all this. He's evil, he's a liar, he's bad, he doesn't exist. Allah. That's what you're supposed to think after this, which obviously is at odds with what we know. 29. Remember, we told Moses to fast for 40 days, and whilst he was gone, you stole his worship calf and committed a great sin. So you deserved what was coming to you, and you needed to be forgiven. Now, this is a very interesting one. Remember, we told Moses to fast for 40 days. First of all, we is Allah and his angels. And even though we haven't been introduced to this Moses character yet, and we have no idea why he's fasting for 40 days or what this calf is, there's been no mention of that. If we refer to the Torah, 500 years previous was written, all those events have already happened long ago. If we refer back to that, after this has all happened and Moses leads the Israelites across the sea, and the sea closes and kills all the Egyptians and allows the Israelis to escape along with Moses as their leader, after all that has happened, then Moses does a 40-day fast and offers a calf to God as a sacrifice to say thank you for leading me and the Israelites out of Egypt into freedom. So there's no thieving of the calf, there's no punishment, there's no great sin. But what you're supposed to think here, if you're a Muslim who's reading this and you've got a little bit of an idea about what's written in the Torah because you don't like the Jews and you're told they're evil, and you know the Torah's a thing but you're told it's an evil lie, you're going to think this is the real verse, and so you're going to think, oh yeah, I remember the thing about the 40-day fasting and the calf. Oh, I can't believe they did that. They ate the sacrifice to God. How could they do that? He was going to save them, and they ate the sacrificed calf, even though Moses did 40 days of fasting. Well, then they don't deserve to be saved. That's what you're supposed to think. But remember, this didn't happen. That happened in reverse after they'd crossed the sea. Let's continue. 30. Even then, we forgave you. We granted you a second chance to show us gratitude, even after you did that horrible thing with the calf. So again, we're repeating ourselves. We're going twice, 3 times to remind people, remember those Jews? Remember their God who was trying to kill them and kept lying and didn't actually stick to the deal, and the Jews were evil anyway because they ate the worship calf that they left for their God, so they didn't really care about their God, and their God was rubbish and tried to kill them, and they ate the calf. And Moses was a Muslim. That's what you're supposed to think here. Moses was sent by Allah and his angels to try and safeguard, O children of Israel, who we're talking about. So you're supposed to think that Moses already worships Allah, And it's Allah who has sent Moses to try and save the Israelites, but they're so bloody dumb, they ate the calf that was meant to be for worship, and they don't believe Moses. So that's the reason the Egyptians are holding them. Not because the Egyptians are being evil and being racist and holding them because they don't like Jews. No, that's not what it is at all. If this is to be believed, the Israelites, the Jews, deserve to be there because they're ungrateful devil worshippers who eat the worship calf instead of giving it to their God. And their God's made this deal with them who he's broken on many times anyway. And it's Allah with Moses who is supposed to be saving them. Sound legit? Not to me. Anyway, let's carry on. 31. Even then, we gave Moses more scripture. We gave him a second stone tablet of commandments and a third chance to redeem yourself, you silly Israelites. Even then you didn't. So once again, he's repeating, just to make sure you get it into your head. Israelites bad, God of Covenant bad, Allah and Moses Muslims trying to save these bad people despite themselves, giving them chance after chance after chance to redeem themselves from this horrible thing they've done, even though actually they haven't done anything. They're slaves of the Egyptians, and the Egyptians are the ones doing all the evil. That's the covenant of God, is if they don't retaliate to the Egyptians, God will take them out through Moses. No, that's not what you're supposed to think. What you're supposed to think, if you believe this and this, is that the Israelites were there because they were bad and naughty and they deserved to be there, and they kept getting chance after chance after chance given to them by Moses and Allah, not by the God of the Covenant. He's nothing to do with it. He keeps trying to kill them, and he's lied, and he's not there, and he doesn't exist, and he's not even real. If you think he is, whoosh. So you're supposed to think that Allah is using Moses as a tool to try and save the Jews, despite their evil natures and the fact that they can't get anything right, and they keep eating the sacrifice, and they're naughty. 32. Remember also, Moses told you off for this and told you to kill yourselves because you were so bad at sinning, so God would forgive you. But even then, God wouldn't forgive you. Only Allah would forgive you. God wouldn't, only Allah. So, we're capping off the bit about the Israelis being bad now. We're not going to see any more repeats of Israel bad, Egypt good, Allah good, God of Covenant bad. But keep in mind here, Moses told you off for this and told you to kill yourselves. That's not at all what happened. Moses did not tell off the Israelites. What actually happened, Moses told off the Pharaoh 4 times. That's why there's 4 references to the sin and the great sin and the chance after chance after chance. It's not the Israelites that had that, it is the Egyptians. Moses through God, or God through Moses, gave the Pharaoh 4 separate chances to release the Israelites and let them on their way, and let them take their sons away with them, and let them take their livestock away with them. And each time he said, you'll get another chance and another chance and another chance, and you won't get punished as long as you let the Israelites go. And on the final chance, what actually happened was Moses said, right, God's getting annoyed with you now because you're not listening. If you don't let the Israelites go this time, you will be visited by 7 plagues. Worse than the last will be the next. And the final one will be all your firstborn sons will be killed. And the Israelites will be let go anyway because God will just get them out anyway. So that's actually what happened. And then the great sin is the Pharaoh says, okay, yeah, I'll do it to Moses. But then as soon as Moses is out the room, he looks at his advisors and goes, that guy's an idiot, he'll believe anything. Don't let them go, lock them up again, and then the Israelites are back in captivity, despite the promises from the Pharaoh that he would let the Israelites go. He doesn't. 33. After this you said, even then, we don't believe you, Moses. We don't believe in you, Moses, or your God. We think you're lying. In fact, we're never going to believe a word you say. We'll only believe in your God if he shows himself to us personally. At which point he did, and he smote the Israelites with lightning bolts. Bear with me here, I still think this is ridiculous. So, what the Quran actually says here is that the Israelites, it wasn't the Pharaoh that didn't believe in Moses. It wasn't the Pharaoh that said, no, I don't believe you, I'm not letting the Israelites go. That's not how the Quran has it. What the Quran says is The Israelites say to Moses, "We don't believe you, Moses. We think you're lying and you're not really from God at all. In fact, we don't even believe in this God that we made the covenant with that you're talking about. That's all crap. We don't believe a word of that. And not only that, we won't believe anything else you say. The only thing that will make us believe that any God at all is real is if he shows himself to us right flipping now." At which point he does, and he smites them with lightning bolts, and he kills every single one of these Israelites with lightning bolts, and they're all dead in the ground. And that is where we will end our reading. So, 15 minutes, it was a bit of a long one. Sorry, my stoma is showing. 15 minutes is a bit of a long one, but we needed that time to go through the intimate details of, O children of Israel, what happens with Moses, the Egyptians, and God finally showing up, spraying them liberally with lightning bolts and killing all the Israelites. And you might think, hang on a minute, there's more to this story. They don't just die, do they, with getting killed with lightning bolts? That doesn't make sense, and you'd be right. That's not what happens. What we'll find out in the tomorrow's reading is after Allah has appeared to them and said, "I'm real, by the way, guys," bang, 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 and shot them all down with a bunch of lightning bolts, you know, COD style, Call of Duty, just murdered them all. He then revives them and goes, "See, don't do it again. I only killed you to test you." But we'll get to that. So let's recap what we've learned in today's reading. Starting from the top. O children of Israel, remember your deal with God and know that a day is coming when your fate will be sealed. She will not be able to escape her fate. So what we're supposed to think here is that the deal with God was a lie. That's what this is actually trying to tell you. To Muslims who think God is Allah, we're supposed to think that these people are bad because God made a deal to save them, and the reason they're in captivity and not going to survive and be let out is because they didn't stick to the deal with God. They're liars, they're bad people. What the children of Israel are supposed to think, if they read this, or anyone else who's heard of these two groups and is maybe undecided, is that the God of Israel is not to be trusted and will try and kill you if you make a deal with him or you worship him. So between the lines, if you don't know any better, you're supposed to think God of Israel bad, lying, deceitful, he will kill you. And you're supposed to think Allah is good and gracious and merciful. Moses was part of his team and Moses has a good reputation, so why wouldn't Allah? Then the next one, remember we saved you from Egypt, who enslaved you and killed your sons. It wasn't Allah and his angels that saved the Israelites from having their sons killed. It was Moses and Yahweh. So they're trying to get in there again with the lie about Allah and his angels. We do all the God's good stuff. We do all the great stuff. We do all the protecting, all the saving, all the safeguarding. We're the nice ones. It's that evil God from Israel who's doing all this bad stuff. You know, that bad God that doesn't exist will kill you. So what it says, I keep saying this, if you don't believe me, buy one of these and read it. Every single word that I've said is 100% true. Guaranteed. I'll stake my life on it. I swear to God, I have not told a single lie, and I will not tell a single lie in any of these videos. If you don't believe me, buy your own, read it. It's true. So, the next 4 are just him going, we're giving these Israelites chance after chance after chance, and we're trying to save them, but they just keep messing it up. It's almost like they want us to kill them. That's what the message here is. Anyone who is reading this who doesn't know any better is supposed to think, these Israelites are stupid. They're like suicidal. Why do they keep messing with God? Why do they keep lying? Why do they keep praying to this devil and thinking this deal is clearly not going to happen? They keep thinking this deal is going to happen, and they keep eating the sacrifice, or they keep not believing Moses, and they keep saying, God, we don't believe you unless you show yourself. All this stuff means Israelites bad. Israelites stupid. Israelites deserve what they're getting. So they're basically being anti-Semitic here, racist against the Jews. Between the lines, and above the lines they're saying, but Allah's gracious and merciful. Allah's trying to save them. He's trying to save them, but he can't because they just want to be killed. That's what you're supposed to think reading this. But the pièce de résistance, chef's kiss, the best part is that last bit. You said even then, we don't believe you're Moses, we don't believe you God, in fact we're not going to believe anything you say because you're full of rubbish unless you show yourself to us right flipping now. And then he appears and goes, die! Lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt, and murders them all with lightning. As I say, they don't stay dead, they get revived in the next bit. But the conclusion we can bring from this part of the book, bearing in mind we're speaking to O children of Israel here, is the first half of the book was setting up how actually everything's a lie apart from what Allah says, and the proof is this, and if you question it or don't believe it, off with your head, you're dead. You have to spread this, not Allah, not Muhammad. It's up to you. It's your responsibility to tell everyone that Allah is the God and the angels and you should follow them and not anyone else. And you should oppress anyone else. And by the way, if you don't, that means you're part of the bad half. So we're going to kill you and you'll be poor and weak and your wives will be disloyal. So you don't want to be one of those guys. If you're undecided, if you're a bit doubtful and you don't know which one you're in, you want to be in the top group with the Muslims. You don't want to be down there with the Israelis. I mean, look what's happening to them, and they're stupid and evil. That's what you're supposed to think. So I think we've concluded nicely there with the anti-Semitism inherent in this part of the Quran. The fact that they're trying to convince anyone who doesn't know any better that these Israelites are not only bad and evil and stupid and self-destructive and mischievous, that the reason they're in captivity in Egypt is because they deserve to be, they did something wrong, and to capitalise and punctuate that point, they continue to do things wrong throughout the verses. They're given chance after chance after chance, and they eschew all these chances. Even Allah can't redeem them, so they must be evil, right? That's what you're supposed to think. But keep in mind, the God of the covenant isn't Allah. It is Yahweh, who supposedly, according to this in our earlier reading, doesn't exist. So again, later bits disprove earlier bits disprove even earlier bits, and if you go right back to the beginning and we add up all the facts, we know that Allah doesn't mean well for humanity, actually wants them as slaves and hates them anyway and wants to kill them all, hates the Jews even more because Jews are liked by God. He hates the fact that the Jews made a deal with God and God dealt with them fairly and sticks to his promises. Allah hates that, absolutely hates that he's an honest, compassionate, caring God that cares about his people. And worst of all is, despite the many trying times that he puts the Israelites through, Allah cannot corrupt them. He cannot make these Israelites break the covenant of their God. They won't do it. And that's why they have to lie continuously here to make out like that's all they ever do. Like they've never done anything apart from piss off God, who is not real, by the way. And that brings us to a close. So, yeah, that's the end of this story. Next time we're going to go through what happens after the lightning bolts hit all the Israelis and they all die and they're all lying in the ground dead. And then Allah goes, I'm sure they've learned their lesson now, waves a magic wand and suddenly they're all alive again, and then the story continues from there. So until then, that brings this video to a close. Hope you enjoyed that and you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. Yes, he turned me into a newt, but I got better. And we'll find out if the Israelites get better on the next episode of Without Lies, Islam Dies. God bless, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.